Hello, second graders. Mrs. Clark here. Today we are going to work on writing. You just had a really long spring break. Mrs. Tornquist, Mrs. Richard, and I, we hope you all had a wonderful spring break. Got to do some fun things at your house. So today, for writing, we are going to write about your spring break. So our question to you, our prompt to you is, what are 3 things you did over spring break? We want you to be sure you include a topic sentence, at least 3 detail sentences, and a closing sentence. I'm going to show you guys an example. All right, I started out with a topic sentence. I wrote, I did some fun things over my break. It kind of gives the reader an idea that I'm going to write about fun things that I did over my break. All right, so I want to kind of think about my break and what I did. One thing that I did was I played outside with my kids. So maybe that's going to be my first detail sentence. I played outside with my kids. One great thing that teachers like to see is detail about each of your ideas that you have. So if you say that you played outside, maybe you played with your sister or your brother or your mom or your dad, you can also add another detail sentence about what you played outside. So I could say, I kicked the soccer ball with Emma. I threw a frisbee with Elena. Okay, so even though that's just my first idea, I played outside with my kids, I can also put some additional sentences in there that tells a little bit more about what I did outside. Another thing that I did over spring break was I watched a movie. So I might say, my family and I watched a movie. Now, as a reader, you might be asking, I wonder what movie she watched. I wonder what movie her family watched. So in my writing, that's something that I could add a detail about. I could say, we watched Frozen 2 for the 16th time. In my family, we love watching Frozen 2. I think mostly we like watching it, but we also really like singing with it. So we watched Frozen 2. All right. Again, that's more information. That's another detail about what in particular my family watched. Okay. So now I need a third idea about something that I did over spring break. Okay. So personally, I also started reading a new book. Now, I don't know if you guys know this or not, but Mrs. Clark loves fairy tales. So, one of the new books that I started reading is probably like a 5th or 6th grade reading level book. Yes, I like reading kids' books too. I know, such a shocker. So I started reading a new fairy tale book, and I'm into like maybe the 5th chapter. So that is something that I could write about too. So maybe I could even put the title of the book into my writing. All right. So the title of my book is called The Land of Stories, and I want to add that into my writing. I am reading a book called A Land of Stories. Now, as all of you know, book titles need to be underlined, so I'm going to underline that now. All right. So those are 3 things that I did over my spring break. And now all I have left to do is write a closing sentence. So my closing sentence needs to be something that is summing up what I just said, maybe something that is very similar to my first sentence, but I don't want to write the same exact thing as I did in my first sentence. So I'm going to change it up a little bit. My first sentence says, I did some fun things over my break. So I'm going to try to think of a way to say that same thing, but just write it in a different way. So maybe I will say, I loved all of the things I got to do during my break. I didn't go anywhere, but that's okay. I had a great week. All right, so I kind of summed up the rest of my writing, and I am ready to share this with my teacher. So I know I wrote a lot more than some of you will probably write, but I think this is a good lesson for you. So, all right, I can't wait to see some of your writing, and I know Mrs. Richard and Mrs. Turnquist will be excited to see what you wrote as well. All right, have a great day, and we miss you all. Bye.